Hi, I'm Shuichi Murakami. Welcome back to the Designing Landscape Form series. In the previous episode, we explored how to design indoor and outdoor spaces as an integrated whole. In this episode, our theme is designing ambiguous forms. Here, the word ambiguous does not mean something vague or unclear. Rather, it refers to a condition where clearly different spatial interpretations can be perceived at the same time, even though physically there is only one space.
Let's begin with a simple example. Please look at this floor plan. It shows a layout of walls. Now let's convert it into an axonometric drawing. If we define a room as a space fully enclosed by walls, then this plan gives us two separate rooms. In this case, only one interpretation is possible. Now look at the second one. The wall at the center is shorter and there are gaps at both ends. We again define a room by full enclosure. This could be read as one single room, but at the same time, if we create the central wall as forming an enclosure, we could also interpret it as two rooms. Because of the gaps, the enclosure is incomplete but still recognizable. In other words, a single physical layout allows multiple spatial interpretations to coexist. Let's go further. Here is the same set of walls, but their positions have simply been shifted. The length and the orientation have not changed, only their relative placement has. As you can see, there are many gaps. Now let's draw this in axonometric view. Once again, if we define a room by full enclosure, we can say that this forms a one large room, but we can also interpret it as two rooms as in the previous example, even though the enclosures are now even more incomplete due to the gaps. Now let's free our imagination. Until now, we assume that a room must be enclosed on all four sides. But is that always necessary? What if we define a room as a space where over half of its perimeter is covered by walls? Then this is a room. And this is also a room. And so is this. And this. By focusing not only on the proportion of enclosure, but also on the endpoints of the walls, we can discover multiple latent rooms within a single configuration. It becomes almost like a game, a room finding puzzle based on a simple but flexible rule. Why not try discovering new rooms yourself? Let us return once again to the floor plan. There are two key spatial conditions that allow multiple room interpretations to coexist. Gaps exist between walls, making enclosure incomplete. The walls are arranged orthogonally, giving the composition of a sense of rectilinear order. The gaps produce ambiguity, but the orthogonal geometry suggests invisible continuations, so that even absent walls are mentally completed, allowing multiple interpretations to arise at once. This design approach is inspired by the work of Gary Ekbo, one of the leading landscape architects of the 20th century. Ekbo sought to define spatial units in outdoor environments such as parks, using trees as spatial enclosures. He arranged the low shrubs in linear sequences, treating them as walls, and placed them orthogonally with deliberate gaps. Ekbo described this spatial strategy as free rectangularity, committed to the idea of outdoor living space. He aimed to create environments where rooms were clearly defined yet people could freely move among them, and even define their own rooms through movement and perception. Ekbo then overlaid rows of tall trees to this configuration. As you can see here, low shrubs and tall trees behave very differently in relation to human movement. Low shrubs have no gaps between trunks, forcing people to move along them. Tall trees, spaced apart, allow people to pass through them freely. By combining the enclosing quality of shrubs with the permeable quality of tall trees, Ekbo deepened the spatial ambiguity, adding another layer of a room of tall trees over the rooms of the low shrubs. In his early career, Ekbo experimented extensively with this idea of free rectangularity. Here are three works that clearly demonstrate its characteristics. These drawings can be found in one of his most influential books, Landscape for Living. I encourage you to explore it. Ekubo stated that the inspiration for his concept of free rectangularity came from the modern abstract paintings and architecture works, such as the ones shown here. A common feature among them is the use of grids with deliberate gaps, suggesting space, rather than enclose it. I encourage you to explore these works as well. The idea of multiple coexisting spatial interpretations can also be found in modern discussions on transparency in art and architecture. For those who wish to explore this concept more deeply, I recommend the literature shown on the screen.
Today, we learned that spatial ambiguity can be produced through a clear definition of the room as a spatial unit and a deliberately incomplete orthogonal configuration of walls with gaps. A situation in which multiple interpretations coexist at once can be considered a rich and meaningful spatial experience. Although we focus only on walls today, this approach can also involve floor and canopy. As we studied in the previous episode, the shifting of boundary lines among floor, side, and canopy offers another way to produce coexisting spatial forms within a single place. By combining clear spatial definitions with inventive arrangements, you can create your own ambiguous forms. In the next episode, our theme will be Let's understand the essence of tree form. Ekubo created ambiguous spaces by composing rooms with trees. In his work, the walls that define the space were not uniform surfaces. They were assemblies of branches and leaves. So what does it mean for trees to possess spatial qualities as elements of composition? We will focus on the behavior of branches and explore the fundamental nature of tree form. See you in the next episode.